Hello, Star Lovelies. It's a great time to be a soul. Today we're talking about
Let's dive deeply into the masculine and the feminine energies of 2025. And we want to do that because 2025 is absolutely uncharted territory. You've heard me say it before. I've done an entire podcast about the 5 outer planets changing signs in a 9-month period, something that we haven't experienced. And so that makes it new. The other thing that makes it new is the energies of the outer planets and where they're going. We've never been alive during that time. So Pluto in Aquarius was 250 years ago. Neptune in Aries was 165 years ago. And so no one's alive in that. And then when Uranus is in Gemini in July, that's 84 years ago. So there's very few of us that have been in that energy. So this is a signature that we don't know. And because we don't know it, that's where we don't know where to go or how to go. And so the imagery I've used before is that of, you're at sea and there's no light and, you can't even see the stars because it's cloudy and, excuse me, you don't even know what your flotation device looks like and you've got no way to chart your course. I've given that imagery before. However, that doesn't actually really get us to that right pinpoint that we want, because the masculine energy of the year is all about precision and the feminine energy of the year is all about alignment. And when you're in the sea of abyss, it's pretty hard to imagine what the difference would be in any sort of that, oh, how do I be precise? Like, that's great. And you can kind of spool that out. But a much better example is something that came to me very recently, and I'm remembering for decades ago. It's a Laura Ingalls Wilder book. Yes, I'm dating myself, and yes, I'm going to go into the story. And it was her fourth book in the series, and it was a pioneering series about what it was like to go from, in the 1800s, to go from a populated area in the Midwest out into the West, and it was just uncharted territory, right? Like, here we go. It's the perfect analogy, and based on a true story. And one of the books was titled The Long Winter. And there's one scene in the book. Now, mind you, this was decades ago. I haven't forgotten it. And it's a blizzards throughout this entire winter. And there's one where they're in the schoolhouse, blizzard hits. They didn't know it was going to be there. And they literally have the ropes and they rope themselves together and they were walking to get back to town. Now, it was whiteout condition. They couldn't see in front of them, and they thought they were headed in the right direction, but they weren't sure if they were headed in the right direction. And imagine what the plains looked like with only, a handful of homes or buildings. So there's probably one main street where the schoolhouse was, and then they were walking to town where, again, they didn't know where they were going. And so the story, this woman, the writer gives an amazing explanation and description that you can picture yourself. You're freezing. The wind is howling. You can't hear anything. It's white out. You can't see anything. And the snow is literally just spinning you up. And this author, she literally smacks into the very edge of a building, and then she was able to scream and pull on that rope because they found the edge of a building in the last building in the township. And if she hadn't done that, they would have walked out in blizzard conditions and they would have been lost in the plains only to have, extinguished, obviously. And so this is what 2025 is going to feel like. It's the better imagery is that blizzard whiteout conditions. And if you are off by a degree of 10 or 15 degrees, it's the difference between finding your way and going in the direction that you should be going and things working out for you, or being lost. That's literally what the energies are like. And so with that, I want to dive into that precision, and I want to dive into the alignment because it is so important and really difficult when you're looking at, well, it's the world, right? And you can think about in your life, and I could take you through, all the different aspects of your life, and your business, but that doesn't seem to make sense. I want to hone in precisely on one or two particular topics, and we're going to establish a playlist for this, and we're going to string them together so that you can understand and appreciate the areas that are the most prominent. And so when I'm talking to my clients, when I'm working in my Rich and Powerful Leaders Academy, when I'm looking at my event series that I have for 2025, that soul-driven success one, the often comes up is about prosperity. It's about money. So we're going to dive into that one first. Another one that often comes up is about being visible and expanding your influence and making impact. So we're going to do that one second. And then the third one is, am I assured that I'm going in the right direction? So we're going to do that third. So I'm going to start with money. We're going to go through this one and we're going to talk about the opposite of money, because again, we're going to be super, super precise. So I'm combining this with a conversation that I had this week with two clients. So it's two clients and then a group. So whenever things happen to me in threes, I realize like, okay, you know what? This is a message that I'm going to want to convey to help people really understand and appreciate so they can clear their mind about it, but then to open their hearts for it so that they can start connecting in the right ways and with the right people to create opportunities or to be able to attract the support that they're looking for. And they're going to be able to take action. So they're going to activate their will in the right way so that they are forming better habits or routines. And when you're in my one-on-one container or in my high-level group container, I will then go and do ritual and healing facilitation for you so we can remove those blocks. But here in this container, we can certainly go into lots of information. I've written articles about this. I've now done clearings for my clients about this. So I want to share about the sneaky ways of lack. And we're going to get really precise about how to spot them and how to flip the script so that you're forming different habits, or we can talk about them as lack hacks. Try to say that 3 times. Lack hack, lack hack, lack hack. Oh, great. Boom sauce. We can do it. So think about this. We're moving quickly. Things aren't really working the way they were before. So we are looking to winnow, optimize, dial in, really get that precision. And we don't want to waste money. We don't want to waste time. We don't want to waste energy. And so this is when we're thinking about, hey, guess what? I do want to attract more money. I want to make more money. I want it to be easier. I want to have more abundance so that I don't have to work as hard. I want to have that beautiful prosperity flow so that I don't always have to be hunting and gathering. My words, not my clients' words, but that's what I hear all the time. And yet when we look at lack, we can think of, well, great, we're going to have a positive mindset. Great, we're going to be, more generous in some ways. And yet lack can be so sneaky when we are working so hard and we're moving so fast. We are rushing through things and we are actually not curating the potential of each one. So when you're jumping from one podcast guesting to another podcast guesting, or you have your own podcast and you're doing these series and you're interviewing people and you've got a great process, you are really dialing in and you are, making sure you have your assets and you're making sure that the people share them and whatever. The most successful ones that I have experienced are the ones that do a preempt of, hey, this is the episode that we're going to be featuring. So there's a little bit of a premiere there. And then they do an entire week follow-up. And sometime in that first part of the week, they actually then, hey, here's the episode. But they do a little tiny bit of buzz before, then they launch it, and then they share it, and then they give you beautiful assets so that you can share it yourself. They collaborate with you on stories. Those are the ones that I am so thrilled to share. I share every one. However, those are the ones that have the most lasting impact. They're the ones that are hitting more people more often because it takes a bit to get through the noise. So what is this lack hack? The speed lack hack is to slow down and to curate what you have in front of you. And if you did that every single time, maybe you'd be on fewer podcast episodes, or maybe you'd produce fewer podcast episodes, or you'd link them together and get really smart and do series, but you would get infinitely more out of each thing that you are working on. And I could use a million examples, but that's the one that wanted to come through. What is the second one? The second one is hustling. You're working too hard. You have to pay your dues. Oh, you should have a side hustle. What about passive income? Passive income isn't so passive. So think about what you're doing when you're constantly in that output and constantly in that hard work. You don't have any of that softening. There's no ability to receive. So when you allow different rhythm and cadence and tempo that works really good for you, that's where you're able to then have that receiving. You can thank the people. You can thank your clients. You can thank yourself. You can look at your calendar and not cringe. You can take the time to soak in the rewards because the universe absolutely adores that. And this is where we're combining precision with the alignment. Because once you open to receiving, the universe is waiting for that and it starts to flow in. This next one is one that people often overlook, and it's the inner critic. So it's judgment. Sometimes you may be judging yourself. Sometimes you may be assessing others, or sometimes you're comparing your life to other people in a performative way. And so this is when you want to get real with yourself. And when you're fulfilled, the judgment eases away. You're not so much looking at someone who may be taking their third vacation in 3 months, maybe be buying a brand new car, maybe being able to invest in all the support that they need for their business, or maybe talking about their great launch that they've just had or their new client that they just signed on. And so we have to really be careful with this one, because this is where us understanding and appreciating the choices that we're making, irrespective of the choices that other people are making, and to get out of the comparison game. Because once we do that activity, oh, this person has income coming in because their parents gave them an inheritance, or they ended up selling something earlier, or they were just in the right place at the right time, or the algorithm's working for them but it's not working for me, or they don't really know what they're doing. I do it much better. All these things, these are limiting your abundance. They are literally taking and closing the doors to money coming into you, because when you replace judgment with encouragement and you become a cheerleader and you say, oh my goodness, how much fun did you have on those vacations? Or that's an awesome new car, and I am so appreciative of mine. And you think fondly about your past vacation, or you're thinking about how it is that you're going to be able to, gain more audience or what have you. What about appreciating the audience that you have? So my son is my podcast producer, and he is amazing at it. And he also minds my YouTube channel. And so I have been known to cheekily say that I have 370 YouTube subscribers. And I joke, I've practically had to pay each one, because it's been about 3 years that I've been really mindful about focusing on YouTube and cleaning up that channel and really putting beautiful value there and what have you. And he looked at me one day and he said, imagine being on a stage with 370 people. Wouldn't you be really excited? Total shift in mindset. Now I am adoring and appreciating that each one of those subscribers. And I'm thinking, yes, how amazing was I to judge that? And just that flipping the script has changed my entire outlook, and I've been able to open myself. And so we've had an increase of like 20 subscribers in the last handful of probably several weeks. That's amazing, because that hasn't happened in a really long time. What about the next hack? The next hack is when you are missing an opportunity. And how does that happen? And I've explained this a lot. And for those of you who've been following me for a long time, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember the woman in the green dress. Yeah, I was talking about this nonstop, I think, in 2021. But here it is again. And so what ends up happening, we set up expectations. Now, especially now, because as I'm recording this, we're around the end of the year. We're talking about, setting strategy and what are our goals and objectives and all these things. So of course you're going to have them. But just when you set up a financial goal, you typically say, what's my baseline? What's that zero sum break even point? Then you say, okay, what's my target? And then what's my stretch? And that's, if you grew up in finance like I did, that's what you always do. And so when you think about that from an opportunity perspective, you could think, okay, that baseline break even point could be, I'm looking for a woman in a green dress. But my target is I'm going to open up my mind and my heart and my will. There's that alignment piece to be able to accept and appreciate if someone comes with a blue dress, or if someone comes in a red pantsuit, or if someone has a suit or has a really, great business casual outfit. All of a sudden, you've opened up the possibility. And you're not going to miss an opportunity when that happens. So, in order to be able to do that, you want to set aside those expectations and you want to get out of your mind about that. Because a lot of times, what I see people coming to me and they say, I journal, I pull oracle cards, I read, and I'm following these 3 or 4 people, and setting intentions, and I have affirmations. All those are good. But the alignment piece isn't there, and the precision of it isn't dialed perfectly for them. So the good news is I can walk into the stars the minute they're born. I can see exactly what that precision is. Short of that, I can look at their intuitive success signature and how they're making choice. Short of that, I can look at their human design and look at what their energetic signature is throughout their body. I mean, there's all these beautiful ways to come to the information. However, it requires slowing down and appreciating the groundedness of how our energy, how our choice, and how our connections and how our actions are following those intentions. So this goes into precision and into alignment. So get grounded, be mindful, and then open up your heart and take right action based on your energy and the way you make choices, because that is going to be infinitely better. You'll get the right opportunities and not just opportunities that are mildly interesting. The next one is boundaries. Now, when people are, especially in a noisy online space, when people are talking about, I want to receive more, and we're in the abundance conversation, prosperity, money. I am looking for the law of attraction to help me, have money coming in. And I have then, the story that will then continue, I have then attracted people who don't have any money, or people who aren't my people, or, they want too much from me, or because I've opened myself up to opportunity and I am saying yes more, I've been taken advantage of. And all those things could be true. However, the next statement is, so therefore I have defined my boundaries. Therefore I've put up walls. Therefore I've done some protection. Therefore I've, literally set some fences up. Guess what happens with abundance or money or prosperity in that case? It runs up against the fence and it bounces off. So whenever we are doing that protective defensive stance, that is actually limiting our abundance and our money. So to be precise, we want to redefine and be unwavering in who we are and what our lane is, and be aligned with that. And then those other energies can't even find us. They don't even happen. An even better one is when you say, I am attracting those who have my best interests at heart. You say that every day for about a month or two and watch what happens to the people in your life. You'll have an immediate and direct change, and your eyes will be wide open with those who actually are aligned with you and those who are not. Fascinating. The next one also is one that doesn't seem to make sense when you think about it at the outset. There are those that always seeking answers. So I want all the answers. I want to know the why, I want to know the what, I want to know the how, I want to know the who, I want to know the when, I want to know, the story behind the scenes. I want to feel as if I've got my arms 100% around something. So I get all the certainty that I can, and then and only then will I take action. Okay, first of all, that's exhausting. Second of all, you're most likely not going to have all those answers. And thirdly, when you wait for 100% of the time, it's already passed. So you are actually seeking answers for answers' sake and not seeking them to actually grow or actually transform. And why do I say that? Because the mind is a protective vessel, it's a processor, and it can only handle that which what it knows, but it's always seeking to know more. But yet it can't know more in any uncertain ways. So what will end up happening, you're on a growth, you say, I want to scale my business. I want to grow. I want to expand my influence. I want to make big impact. I want to make more money. Whatever it is from a goal perspective, your mind says yes because you've set the goal. But then your mind immediately goes into how, and the how is what you already know. And guess what? You will not have growth and you will not have the future that you want because you haven't experienced it yet. If you continue to do what you've done throughout history, you're not going to change your trajectory. So you're not actually going to be able to seek those opportunities and gain that momentum if you are constantly looking for answers. The secret is in the question. And the bigger secret, the more magical secret, is in it asking the right question. Because think about it, if you're getting answers to questions that are things that you've already experienced, that isn't a growth trajectory at all. That's just based on experience. And so you're just going to keep replicating what you've already done. When you're in the question business, when you're in the I'm not sure, I don't know, this is unfamiliar, I'm uncertain, I wonder, that's where the growth happens. That's where the magic happens. That's amazing. It's literally life-changing. And for my clients that do this, we have such a growth trajectory that changes their entire basis of where they're going and how they're getting there. So, again, people come to me and say, I want more satisfaction. I want more fulfillment. How does it get any easier? I want to save time. I don't have good work-life balance. I want to make sure I'm going in the right direction. All these things. And so, of course, there's a million questions there. And I say, yes. And here's the better question. What is the right path for you in this moment? And let's let your heart and soul lead that process. And it's going to look like a creation spiral versus a linear walk, because that's where you get those people in the red pantsuits and the blue dresses and all the things that you would never have been able to experience. And you do it in a way that's amazingly satisfying. And so, yes, you'll get the numbers, but you'll also be able to step back and step in to that which you truly desire. And your mind is not the leader in that. So curiosity. So instead of saying, I need to know something, I wonder what's possible. And you start there and watch the doors open. Another one is, it's really interesting. It's greed, and it's really hard for me to say this because it's in disguise, but it's insidious. And you feel like this doesn't make sense. Like you're like, nope, 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 this doesn't make sense. You're going to reject this. You're going to hit reject button. And I'm still going to say it because I'm not speaking to your mind right now. I'm speaking to your heart and your soul. I'm speaking to inner knowing that you have. And this is where it doesn't happen often, but there are those that will squeeze every last drop out of something. And it does happen when you're in a place where you think, okay, I've signed up for something. I want to make sure I get the value out of it. Of course you do. Absolutely, of course you do. You've invested, you've said yes, you've made the decision, you have that beautiful trust, and you're stepping in. Yay. And yet, the way that we entrepreneurs are operating now is that we are giving so much value. And when you're giving so much value and you're giving it from like a one to many, container, that's any group, whatever, no matter what the size, any membership, any program, any course, if the person who's giving it is really good at what they do, and it's not, now this isn't one-on-one, this is more of a group scenario. They are doing that one-to-many, and they are going to be doing things in different ways because we all have different ways of learning. We all have different ways of experiencing. So what I always say to my people, it's like a big buffet. And so you're going to look at the buffet and you're going to be, oh my God, it's so beautifully set up. And ooh, I love this pasta station over here. And I love this sparkling wine one. And I love this, beautiful fruit platter we have going on. And oh, wow, this is amazing. And I'm going to go and I'm going to taste and I'm going to see. And yes, you will, but there'll be a natural affinity that you have with one of those stations. Maybe you adore the sweetness and the crispness and the freshness of the fruit. Maybe you love that quenching of the sparkling wine that then turns into a sparkling fountain of water. And you just feel really good there. And you just are beautifully, nourishing your cells with the water and the bubbles, and they feel effervescent. Or maybe it's that, gee, you know what? I need some pasta because you know what? Whatever form you have, fresh, gluten-free, whatever feels really good to you, and with all the different sauces and the proteins and all the fixings that it comes with, that feels satiating, that feels super grounding. But each person is going to have a different inclination, they're going to have a different affinity. So if someone were to come and feast on the buffet and make sure that they eat every single morsel on that table, they're not going to feel good. They're going to have missed opportunities to talk to other people. They're going to have missed opportunities to have experienced somebody else's feast. They're going to have missed opportunities to experience themselves. And so I'm using a weird analogy for this, but I think it works. Because when you are like, okay, I've invested this much money, and this has come up in my personal life 4 different times, so even one more than normal, 4 different times over the last few weeks. And they're with more associates. They're not really with close people to me. But again, it's been in the personal. Remember, it's holiday time right now. So I'm having conversations with people I don't normally. And there's come up where, oh, I've had an all-inclusive vacation. Oh, I went to a resort. Oh, I went to an all-you-can-eat something. And this is probably why this buffet is coming in. And but you know what? Guess what? I realize now I couldn't fully, consume all of that. So therefore, I'm not going to do it again. What are you talking about? Why did you do it? Did you do it because you wanted to go to that destination? Did you do it because you wanted the ease of not having to deal with, anything but an all-inclusive event? Did you do it because it was recommended by others? Did you have a good time? Did you enjoy yourself? Then have the generosity to yourself to say all those things were true. So therefore I partook enough so that I was satiated. I partook enough so I was comfortable. I partook enough, and I said yes, and then I said no. That's the reality. So be thinking about that, because as I go into the next one, you're going to be, these two string together, because it's generous. It's a beautiful way for you to have that precision and align with what's true to you, and really just put blinders on to other things. This goes back to the boundary one too. When you're really defined, you're not constantly looking at all these other things because you're not concerned about them, because you're only concerned with what feeds you and helps you on your path. This next one is about freebies. So we all love a good one, right? Like, oh my God, that was amazing. I got to download that. That was wonderful. I got to listen to that podcast. I got to watch that video. I got to go to that conference. I got to network in this group. I got to get that bonus. It feels so good. I got to buy one, get one free. Yes, it feels beautiful. How wonderful is that? How lucky are we? Yes, that is abundant, unless that's the only thing that we do. If we are only going to be investing in ourselves to the free level anywhere, we are leaving all the true gifts behind. But honestly, especially in this industry, like in the astrological or intuitive industry, most people are giving tons of things away for free. Now, I've always done that because I am a value-based, inspiration-based person. That's just who I am. I'm an intuitive visionary. That's exactly the way I operate. And so because of that, I have no problem. But I'm also very high ticket. So when people say yes to me and then they do it because they've experienced me, they've heard me, I've been in a group, I've been on a live, it does take a handful of interactions with my type of work because it isn't a simple 1, 2, 3 approach. It is, breaking new ground. We are in uncharted territory. I'm always going to be at that leading edge, because I'm speaking to visionary leaders. I'm speaking to those who want to be awakened in some way, and then they've been awakened and now they're ready to amplify. That's where I come in. And so my work is incredibly deep. It's incredibly intimate. It's incredibly high value, which is why I request an abundance exchange in the high value format. But you can do lots of things for free in my world. But imagine what you're getting for free versus what you could get if you just paid a little bit. And this is not a sales conversation at all. This is talking about the lack that's creating. If you're a consumer, think of a Pac-Man, right? I'm a consumer constantly of the free things, and I'll gobble up somebody's all free things. And then I'll go to the next person and gobble up all their free things. And then I'm going to go to the next person and gobble up all their free things. Imagine what you're doing because you're not investing in yourself. You're not believing and trusting in yourself that you could pay or upgrade or tip generously even. And when you do, that investment energy comes back tenfold. So it's really interesting how the magic of that works. Because think about that reciprocity of that giving and that receiving. If you are giving nothing and only receiving, then the universe says, well, you've received enough, so I don't need to give you anymore. And so, oh, you only want free things, so I'm going to give you all the free things. So you're skimming off that, bottom 10% of the value in any one of the containers. So this is where you want that discernment to say, with precision, this would be really great. Who has my best interests at heart? How am I put at the center? How is my uniqueness and my originality, being met? How can I, get the most, whole and holistic approach? Those are the questions that you want to be asking yourself, and then see what comes to. Another one, there's only 2 more. Another one is discounts versus bonuses. Now, one of the reasons why I don't do anything for Black Friday is because I don't believe in like the Groupon approach. I just don't. I'm not going to undervalue myself. Another way to look at this is when, and this is going to be a hard one too, is so spoiler alert, this is going to be a hard one to hear, is when you're selling something on Facebook Marketplace or you're selling something in a yard sale or whatever. Maybe you paid $1,000 for it, but you're going to sell it for, 100. What have you just done with the value of what it is that you have? You've just discounted it by $900. That's a lot from a percentage perspective. When you think about that, when you're, I charge $100 a session. That's not true for me, but it can be true for somebody. And I'm going to do a Groupon for $40. If you are in practice mode, if you have a new offering, if you are looking to expand into a new geography, or if there's some sort of new component with that, it's an excellent approach. So there's a season for it, but not when you are taking your numbers and you're saying, you know what, I want to have more clients. And so therefore I'm going to discount my offerings by, 60%, as the case may be, going from $100 to $40. Those Groupon clients are not going to convert into regular clients for you. They're gobblers, right? They're looking for those discounts. And what are you doing, saying to the universe? Oh, you only want people that value you to the $40. So you have limited your value. So you're blocking your flow of abundance. So think bonuses, not bargains. Instead of slashing your price, add extra value. A bonus says I'm worth it, and so are you. And that's where that beautiful reciprocity comes in. There's a great example that I have that I'm going to be putting into the show notes. That is my magical prosperity pack that I was selling in 2024. You can still go in if you want to, but it is a 4-event offering that, and now all on demand for the price of 1. And so that's where I just kept saying bonus and bonus and bonus. So if you want to look to see how that feels, you can look at my book, my magical prosperity pack, and just see how you feel about that. Just see what comes up for you, because that's a really good approach when you're thinking about expanding into new places or you have a new offering that you're giving. Now, the last one is also surprising. Remember, I said these were sneaky ways of lack, and this one does require as much precision as the other ones did. So, your story could be holding you hostage. Now, it is great. I am a big believer in story. I know that there is such incredible wealth in it, even if you never convey your story to others, right? But you're living your story. So there's awareness that opens up. There's the emotion of it. There's the action of it. It is incredibly healing. But just as with everything, there's a season for it. So when you're in that discovery, I mean, I have a wonderful client that does this work, and she helps people do the discovery of the story. And then she helps them heal it by telling their story. And then if they want to write a book, they can. And I'll put her in the show notes too. If they want to write the book, they can. But they don't have to. They want to be in a podcast, they can. But the whole approach is to understand and appreciate your story, but it's not for you to become your story. So that's where the difference, this is where the precision is. It's like, gee, wow, I didn't realize there's an epiphany. Like, wow, like for me, I was so hiding in the spiritual closet. I laughed because, oh my God, now name the ways. A million. And so I was every morning in meditation, I was saying, how am I hiding? And oh man, like every day, you're hiding in this way, you're hiding in that way. Great. And so I could have been swept up in that story of hiding instead of using that awareness to then stop hiding. So that's where that epiphany is wonderful. And the story is so incredibly impactful. But then what are you actually doing with it? How are you moving beyond it? And the story can be two ways. One could be, how am I the hero in this scenario? And the other one can be, how am I the victim in this scenario? So think about that. When you only own that one role, you're not actually owning all the other roles, the inverse of whatever is true, other victim or hero. But then there's sidekick, and then there's mentor, and then there's the, solver, and then there's the listener and observer. I mean, there's so many different roles that you play when it comes in your life. You don't want to limit yourself. So that's a sneaky way that lack comes in. So you can shift yourself from being the storyteller to the editor of your life. And instead of saying, this happened to me, you can say, this is what I'm creating now. And that's a beautiful way to open up things. So when you think about this, you have slowing down, you have practicing receiving, you have trading judgment for joy, you have staying present, redefining your lane instead of boundaries, embracing curiosity instead of answers, being generous versus gobbling everything up, and investing in yourself, adding value versus discounts, and rewriting your story. So that's a beautiful summary of the precision around the sneaky ways of lack. Over the next week or two, I'm going to challenge you to pay attention. Are you rushing? Are you judging? Are you not investing in yourself? Each time you catch yourself in one of those lack shots, like that little snapshot of lack, swap it for an abundant happen. Sharing your wins, being generous with your compliments, sharing the free material that you're getting from others and allowing other people to enjoy it. Understanding and appreciating that you are worth more than all the money in the world. You are appreciated. You are abundant. What you crave craves you. When you attract who has the best interests in your heart. These are all affirmations that you can use. What else is possible? How am I going to rewrite the next chapter of my story? I am wishing you all the abundance, all the prosperity, and all the money in the world. We're going to make this part of a playlist. And so you can go ahead and you can grab, obviously, this one. But then there's going to be one on money. Then there's going to be one on power for visibility. Then there's going to be one on purpose. So you're absolutely in your lane. And yes, this is the generous spirit for those pioneers out there, because we are in uncharted territory, and that precision and that alignment, as we each then are able to gather our own energy and our own light and be the leaders that we're meant to be, then think about that. All that white noise, that white out goes away, and we are able to then know exactly where we stand, and we are not alone. So, as always, thank you so much for listening and subscribing and sharing with friends. Happy soul tidings. Until next time.
Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more ways to use the stars strategically to align with your soul purpose, reclaim your power, and increase your prosperity. Please rate and review your favorite episodes, and remember to check out my website at kimwoods.com for my latest forecasts, articles, and offerings. To find out your intuitive success signature, take my 12-question Do You Know, Like, and Trust Yourself quiz and find out how you're living your stars at yourstarmaptosuccess.com. I've so enjoyed our time together, as it's filled with the power of the stars plus strategy to clear the pathway to your success. Until next time, happy soul tidings.